So today on Sauna Talk, we head all the way over to the outskirts of Oslo, Norway. We visit with Lasse Erikson. And Lasse is a sweat enthusiast with a mission to bring more sauna and sweat experiences to the world. He is head of Norges Badstulaug, a board member of the International Sauna Association, and vice president of the Aufguss WM group in Norway. I had a great chat with Lasse. We are certainly kindred spirits. Lasse, as you'll hear, talks a lot about his passion toward locally bringing more saunas to elderly homes. Why they don't exist is a great question, and we delve into that. He says, quote, "I work with infrared, but it is more of a treatment. Infrared is not connected to the Norwegian culture of badstu, which is sauna." So I'll let you guys listen in. In final, Aufguss is a big deal for him, and he mentions that we are storytellers. That's who we are. Listen to the steam, feeling it. So these are some of the aspects that Lasse brings on, and I'll just say with you, steam on. This show is brought to you by Lampa Manufacturing, maker of the Vaporfire wood furnace and the Kuma wood-fired sauna stove. Lampa Manufacturing is a family-owned fourth-generation production company based in the northeast area of Minnesota on the edge of the Boundary Waters Canoe area, shadowed by old-growth white pine and birch tree forests. Each Kuma wood-fired sauna stove is handmade by local craftsmen in the land of 218. This is a place where, if someone has a flat tire, people stop and help out. This is a place where, for decades, if someone, say, had a crack in their car axle, they would limp their vehicle over to Daryl Lampa at Lampa Manufacturing, where he would stop what he was doing to help weld their friend's or stranger's vehicle and get them moving again. All the quarter-inch steel for each Kuma stove is U.S. made, Minnesota sourced, as is all the material for your Kuma stove. Garrett Lampa is president, CEO, and fourth-generation owner. I drove him crazy recently, challenging him to try to identify one single component of the Kuma stove that is not produced on-site or locally sourced. If all this isn't enough for you to replace your tin can sauna stove with a Kuma, let's talk about the heat and the longevity. During my 12-day trip to Finland in 2019, I enjoyed 50 different saunas throughout Finland. The heat I experienced over there in Finland is right up there with the heat from a Kuma stove. And this makes sense, as the 4 generations of Lampas are all 100% Finnish, and all 100% Finnish welders, and all 100% empirical tinkerers who would gather together in their garage in 20 below zero and mess around with how to make a stove that burns the hottest. Good heat is in their DNA, and so is sustainability. The Kuma stove burns super clean and efficiently. My neighbors never know when it's sauna time, as my Kuma does not emit any smoke, especially as I've mastered the upside-down fire technique to get it rocking. You will never find a Kuma in the landfill. My cabin's sauna's Kuma is from 1996. My backyard sauna's Kuma is 2003. They purr along as well as the day I installed them. The only question you'll have to ask yourself with a Kuma is who you will be leaving your sauna to in your will for when you leave this earth. I dig the Kuma stove, and I would applaud it and hope you consider one for yourself as well.
So Lasse, yeah, man, it's Minneapolis, it's January. Oh, actually, it's February, early February, and we have had a lot of cold. Tell us about where you are right now and your winter so far, Lasse.
First of all, I want to say Likkupäivin, because this is the happy birthday. This is the national day of the Sami people up here in the north. So it's a very special day for us all here. So yeah, I'm in Norway, in Larvik, and living life. We just open all the the saunas, and everything is ready to go, and masks are off, and life is starting to happen. So it's really, really good.
Yeah. And how far from most people listening know Norway? It's a Scandinavian country up in the north. Most know Oslo. That's in the southwest part of Norway. Where are you relative to Oslo, Lasse?
I'm just an hour south of Oslo. Okay. So I'm actually on the southern part. Norway is quite interesting country because it's such a long one. So we always have this thing that if you flip Norway around, we will end up in Rome.
Wow.
So we are bordered to Russia on the top, and to Finland and to Sweden, and then we kind of can tip it down. So it's a long country with a long coastline and some beautiful mountains. And
yes. And I want to ask you so many things about your topography. Specifically, we're going to talk about floating saunas. I see many floating saunas in Norway, and I think it's a reflection of your geography, your topography, where you have the sea and then immediately some mountains shooting up. And is that topography pretty typical for the coastline?
Yeah, it's very typical especially when you follow the kind of the ocean side, and you follow it further from the mid Norway and north, it gets more and more spectacular. But we have the fjords. You probably heard of those too, which is spectacular when we go into those parts. So for us to build saunas on that shoreline is very kind of attractive and nice, and it also connects us to the ocean and the water. So because going up in the mountains, it's quite heavy up there and cold, but we have some beautiful cold lakes though up there.
Absolutely. And I think of the rugged shoreline, where lakes in Minnesota, you have a very gentle shoreline, generally speaking, and so you can have a boathouse or a sauna by the shore. But is it true, this observation that I seem to have, that there are many floating saunas in Norway?
And now it is. Before we had naust. We call it naust. We build this for boats, to store boats in them. And by very many of those, you have connected to saunas, or badstu, like we say in Norway.
Right. Do you like to say sauna, or is badstu what you in conversation? Well, when you're speaking Norwegian, it's always badstu, right?
Yeah.
Do you like to say sauna as well, or do you prefer badstu?
We can actually discuss this further, because It's interesting talk about the word sauna, which is a Finnish word, and badstu. So this is an interesting topic to actually follow up. But we can say sauna because people all over the world kind of relate more to that.
Would it be more proud for you to refer to the practice as badstu?
No, it's all fine. It's
okay.
Okay.
Yes, that's great.
I'm not that.
Well, I thought the Swiss were all into neutral and diplomacy and stuff. But what I'm reaching for is it a pride? Is badstu or sauna a source of pride for Norwegians, or do they recognize that potentially it is not a cultural origin of Norway? Well, I'm sure it goes back several centuries, much like in Finland, right?
Yeah, and the thing that in Norway we say badstu, but still we have the northern part, the mid Norway and northern part. We have around the 17th century and 16th century, we had a lot of what we call kven people who moved from Finland and from Sweden into Norway. So we have all the sauna talk coming in the mid and north of Norway. Many say sauna because of the culture we have. So we can say sauna and badstu it actually goes both ways, because a large part of who we were and who we are also connected to the sauna word.
Right. So, and when you say sauna talk, do they listen to sauna talk, or do they just sauna talk?
They
The
normally
podcast.
most Sauna Talk,
I
but
was asking about the podcast.
they normally Sauna Talk in the Badstu, but many of us of the enthusiasts have been following you for some time now, and I'm quite honored to be here with you and to talk about the Badstu and the sauna as you kind of have been on for several years. Even now it's quite popular, but you were before the popularity came in, and that's kind of one thing I kind of follow. And there's not that many who actually talk about and have these podcasts. So it's quite surreal to be here, but it's an important thing you do for the sauna. So
Thank you, Lasse. Thank you, and that's a very kind compliment to me. Yeah, I've really leaned into this practice that you and I love in several areas. I find that in America, and we can talk about this specifically, but there is such a need for education about this practice that you and I both love, both in the process, the sauna as a verb, as well as the noun, like what is it and what makes for good sauna. And you're right. I mean, they're really, as you distill or boil down the enthusiasts, like there's a few of us that really are impassioned about sharing it and doing it in a way that is not snobby, I guess is maybe a word, but with love and appreciation. And I hope I fall in that camp. Because there could be some others that are saying, well, hey, as long as you sweat, it doesn't matter how. But I think that there's good sweat and marginal sweat, put it that way, if that makes some sense. So I walk a tightrope, Lasse, and I don't know, maybe this is a question for you. I mean, as an enthusiast that feels it in your bones, and I will get into your history with Badstu and sauna, but do you find yourself walking a tightrope in a sense about wanting to share good sauna and yet not wanting to come across as a snob within the space of sauna?
Definitely, and that's the kind of the issue that I have thrown myself out in front of. I try to front things who are challenging for many sauna enthusiasts, where we talk about kind of where do we want to go in the future. And that's actually one of the things I try to challenge, my friends and Risto and all the Finnish sauna community and people around who are sauna enthusiasts, is that we look much in history and go back in time, but where do we actually want to go in the future? Beautiful. Which is kind of my perspective of things.
Let's dive into that. I would like to stay chronological. One of the things I love to do with guests to Sauna Talk is to go to the beginning, just very briefly, and then we will speak about the future very quickly here. But what is your first memory of Badstu and sauna? And take us forward to that, from that early moment to today. Let's start with that.
For us in Norway, it's a part of the school system. So for us, when I was a kid, every time we had at school, we also had Badstu in the school, connected to our gym and to the swimming session. So what I remember the most is actually the sessions with all my friends and things in the school, where this tremendously hot, dry room where we opened the door, we're running in, and we were in there for, some seconds or maybe maximum a minute, and just running out again and cooling down and backing in. And so that is actually the first moments which actually, the happiness around it, the joy, which brings into it, that you're not afraid. Yeah.
Sorry, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to paint that picture a little more clearly about at what age, how many kids, and was there a lot of adult supervision? And if you had to try to remember, tell us about the heater, gas, electric, how, paint a little bit clearer vision of this early memory, please.
The class was about, say we were about, 25 in the class, and half of them were boys. Often we were separate, boys and girls. So this was in the boys zone. And always we had one teacher who was with us all the time. And what we kind of always remember that the badstu was always on. And that was also an important thing in Norway, that it's not off where you normally see many other places where they turn it off. So what we liked was that all of us, half of these were boys. So we had 12, 14 boys running into this sauna, which actually just is room for 7, 8. So we were crunching up in this sauna, and it was an electric heater, almost no stones, of course. And you couldn't throw water on it because it has to be these things for the kids. So we were so it was super dry and super hot.
Right. But you did this, like once a week, a couple times a week as part of a swimming class or how?
Yeah. A couple times a week. We did this through school, those times. So it was really, really nice. So that's kind of the first real sauna sessions. And then, of course, I could follow my father when we go to the swim hall with the adults. But that was actually, in the beginning for me, not that fun. So the adults did their stuff and the kids were doing their own stuff when we had schools. So that was kind of the memories of our first bathing. So I have a tremendous amount of joy around it from my youth, because we were free to actually use it in school time on our own. So I would like to thank the Norwegian government and the local in Norway and the local school for actually having the saunas open, because I know many actually closed them or shut them down because the kids in it were not, allowed or whatever.
Oh, so this culture has changed. Like children growing up now, they don't have access to sauna in schools, or not as much?
No, they first of all, they started to cut down a lot of pools and things around which happened around in Norway. All these swim halls and pools, and connected to them, you have all these badstus and saunas connected to them. So we have still some, but they shut down more and more because of economical reasons.
Right. Not liability. See, if it was America, it'd be a liability deal.
It's a liability. Yeah, that's what you say. So unfortunately that happened. And also, so kind of, but it's coming back again. It started, you need to take care of the people again. So we are on our move to bring this back, both for swimming, which is one of the reasons for the thing in Oslo, all the floating saunas, which is an interesting part, where actually people need to learn to swim. The kids, we were struggling in Oslo with both the thing of young or youth drowning, and which was an issue to build saunas by the shoreline.
Because the water's so cold, right?
So you get used to. One thing is to get used to the cold, that you actually know what it is when you first fall out, and the second is actually kind of to be able to kind of swim in it. You know that you are capable of actually.
Lasse, I want to go back to the chronology of you and sauna, and we will here in a second. But I just have to pull away. You touched on something really significant about that feeling. If you fall into a cold lake or a fjord, and there's a shock involved. But what you and I know is euphoria, right? So if you and I were to slip on a banana peel and fall into an ice cold lake, we'd be like, all right, man, this is not a bad idea. I think I'll take my shirt off and enjoy this mistake of falling in, right?
Yeah, and you would think, where's the sauna? And then you would turn around.
Yeah, man, exactly. Beautiful. So here you are, you're a child, you're growing up. You had the fortune of having sauna as part of your pool, your routine, your swim class. Then what happened? Obviously, something happened in your life where this experience really stuck with you, and you've leaned into it more. Tell us more on that. Like, bring us up to present day, growing up, and then what happened?
Yeah, it's my story is kind of very much through therapy. My aunt was a reflexologist and herbalist and working with these things. And when I was 18 years old, I chose to study aromatherapy and massage. So I was the first male aromatherapist in Norway, actually, when I was 18. I'm 47 now. So So it's some years ago. And then I started different massage schools and therapy-wise for sports massage and these things. And I quite quickly started to open my own clinics and things. And then I started working with the national teams in sports. And that's actually where my enthusiasm for hydrotherapy wake up again, because the most fit people on the planet, when I moved in there at the Olympiatoppen, we call it here in Oslo, they used hot and cold. We were using sauna and ice bathing, pre-tournaments, pre-training, after training. So I kind of started using that as a treatment for myself, but also for all these athletes, which actually started to move my medical part, or as a therapist, where I saw this has huge impact on how they live and how they work and to gain results. And then my question was actually, why are always the fittest people on the planet doing this? Why not everyone else? And that's actually still today I try to challenge people or government and these things. We do it with those people and we know it works.
So to summarize or paraphrase, you experience athletes conditioning, hot, cold, sauna, cold exposure for performance, and you had this realization that through their performance levels increasing, you started thinking, these are fit people, these are very well people. Using hydrotherapy, contrast therapy, and then you start connecting some dots that maybe this practice is actually good for people that are not well. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and that's kind of come to my mission today.
Okay. Tell us about that, please. Yeah, tell us. Okay, now we're up to present day, right? Okay, please continue. Thank you.
I have. How can I say this? My biggest goal of today, that's what I'm quite pragmatic on that one, is to, because of what the science shows us from Laukkanen and Hägglund and others, is that I start with Norway, but I want to bring most sauna to the people. But my key is to bring to to build saunas in all hospitals and elderly homes, and in locally. For all people. So that's the key I work for now. Elderly homes. Why are there no saunas in all elderly homes? I don't understand it, because of the things we see. One thing is from Laukkanen study about cardiovascular disease and about elderly sicknesses, and that it actually has an effect. So that's my goal actually at the moment.
Beautiful.
That we do in Norway and the Sauna Association in Norway, that we try to push into governments to say that this is a part of it. Yeah.
Thank you. Is this the Badstulaug?
Yeah. Norges Badstulaug.
Tell us about Badstulaug, your place in it and the organization, please.
I'm the head of the Norges Badstulaug. We are a quite new organization because I met Risto several years ago in Austria. Risto is the president of the International Sauna Association, and he told me that, hey, Lasse, you need to get Norway going. There is an association there, but it's a little bit slow. And he knew me that I'm a guy who makes things happen. That's what I do. And he asked me, hey, you try to get Norway going because we need you. Norway is a big part of the sauna culture, and you're a strong sauna culture and a history. And then I started to work on it. And we started the organization in 2017, the new one, to work quite thoroughly to get Norwegian Badstu on the map again. And today we have 80 members within it. And one of them, just very easy, one of the members is Oslo Badstuforening, and they have 4,500 members. So in total, we are quite many, because we have associations and things within it. So, and it's a pro bono, it's non-profit. organization. We just do it out of passion. Mikkel is, of course, the honorary member, and he's Norwegian, Mikkel Aaland, and we are proud to have this Norwegian, Mr. Sweat with us.
Yes.
So he helps us a lot.
Beautiful.
And we are just dedicated badstu people who want to share and get more and more around in Norway. And actually today it's booming in Norway, and it's just crazy.
So Mikkel told me about this. I was chatting with him when he's back to San Francisco. And just for listeners, Mikkel, we're speaking about Mikkel Aaland, who is the author of the book Sweat, and a 2-time guest on Sauna Talk. And I encourage you guys to listen to Mikkel. He is just he's a pioneer, I would say, in this global practice. And there we have Lasse showing the book. That book is out of print. It's very iconic. You talk about early pioneers in this space. I don't know. I refrain from trying to put a label on Mikkel. He's just been a real galvanizing, warm heart to what we love, this practice of sauna, that we can call it in one sense, but globally many other practices. And anyway, that's Mikkel. And as Lasse says, a Norwegian, and also Risto Elema. He's also been a guest on Sauna Talk. He is the president of the International Sauna Association. And Lasse, you're on the board of the ISA. And
yes.
not just starting Norway as a sauna association, but you jumped right in to ISA globally in a global sense, correct?
Yes, I was asked by Risto to come into the board because I want to go back to Mikkel. What I like about what Mikkel has done for this community is that he, with his book from 78, is that he actually gathered all types of sweat together. And that's kind of been my mission, kind of in globally. In Norway, I have the elderly homes, but globally, I try to connect the different sweat cultures to help them to help Mikkel on his path, because he needs us others to work with him, So
true, yes.
So I love that Risto asked that to bring me into the board, because one thing is that we need some young blood into the board of the ISA, and also I come from wellness. I have run now a big spa in Norway called Farris Bad. And then I was asked very easily, not easily, but I was asked in 2016 by the Global Wellness Summit by Susie Ellis, which is one of the powerhouses of wellness around the world, to have a talk about sauna and Aufguss on the Global Wellness Summit for people. So what I try to do is to connect the wellness people with the sauna people. And Risto saw that we need to help each other, and especially for future science. And there is a lot of, how can I say very easily, there's a lot of money in wellness, and they want to help and want to have more studies in science. And I think the collaboration of both parts are important, because most of us sauna people here, Glenn, we are that passionate that we forget the costs and the money. We are going in zero. Most of the sauna people, we don't think about that. That's not why we do it.
Yes. Well said. And there's so many great data points to this statement that you're making. Dr. Larry Laukonen's work is such a pioneer toward sauna, and I just have to lean into that. By the way, he's been a guest on Sauna Talk too, so there are many episodes actually that listeners can go back to catch up on with Lasse and I here. But what I find interesting, and I would just like to dive into the different forms of sweat therapy in Norway compared to the United States. And one of the we'll start with Norway first. Is it mostly badstu, like you and I know, in terms of water on the rocks, cold? Is this part of the culture, or do you have, and I want to be gentle with how I say this, do you have fabrications or drive-through, do you have McDonald's drive-through versions of sauna, or is it all pretty authentic in Norway?
I think you can have both, but I think actually it's more authentic. What I like, I don't know if Mikkel mentioned that last time, but what I like about the new Norwegian badstu is that architecture is going a bit crazy here in Norway. People are building, the architecture, and they're daring to actually push the limits of designing the bastus, which is very, very interesting. So you have beautiful architecture of the bastus where you combine the architects and the bastu persons, or which is actually very interesting. Is like, where do you actually put it? How do you design it? How should it look like? And not just the inside, because the inside we kind of have how we want the steam to work, and the wood and the fresh air and oxygen and all these things we do. But that's the thing I like about the Norwegian, that bit naivety. The architects just push it out and just do it. And sometimes it doesn't work. It becomes a little bit, hey, this is not fully a bastu because it doesn't, But I like that people try. So, but of course, you will have, with a trend, which is now it's very, very hip. In Oslo, in the fjord in Oslo, we now have 20 floating saunas.
No way.
Connected around there, or floating a little bit on the shore. So by having 20 is the biggest hub we have in the world, I guess. I'm going to challenge my Finnish friends here now, but within that harbor, and of course, when things are popular, other things start to happen. That kind of people start to take advantage of what it is and see how it goes. So I have actually seen these. There are some which I don't fully will call them bastu. But there are more heated rooms, very heated rooms, and things like that.
Do they happen to have red light bulbs? Are they just infrared light bulbs, or what?
No, that's not a bastu or a sauna, or that's an infrared. That's a treatment. So in Norway, we don't. That's not a part of it.
Okay,
but
so
I work with infrared. I can, but it's more of a treatment. You still have the infrared from a normal bastu oven too. So the radiation comes from a normal oven. It's just that you have the bonus as the löyle and and all the other stuff, which is actually better. But infrared is not connected to the Norwegian, culture of bastu. We don't.
So if you were to, does infrared sauna not exist in Norway, or is infrared known as a treatment? And the reason why I ask, I'm just teeing the ball up, because one of my, I like in my backyard, I have a stone to sharpen my axe. And I usually think about infrared saunas when I do that, because here in America, I'm furious about how the authentic practice has been manipulated and stretched by marketers selling these boxes and calling them saunas and confusing the consumer. And now I'm sharpening my axe. I'm ready to split some firewood in anger, because here in our country, in America, there's a lot of confusion. And there's one thing if the confusion came from marketers of products, from the Far East or wherever, but in a lot of cases, it's companies that also sell what you and I know as sauna, and adding this to their portfolio, but really hitching their wagon to call it sauna when it's not sauna. And so anyway, I'll just go out back and swing my axe a few times and come in, and I'll feel a little more relaxed, because I can get very fueled up in this issue that's in our country, America.
But there is the definition of sauna, from the ISA from Aachen in 1999. It is quite,
specific.
You have mostly wooden inside. It's an oven, either fire or electric, and these things. It has stone on it, and you have to be able to do a löyle on it. So that's a sauna. So the definition is actually quite set. Of course, you have beautiful saunas in Finland, and the oldest one you have, which is in betong, and but they are the most beautiful and but they still have the oven with the stones and the löyle. So no, in Norway we don't. Of course, marketing people can try to put a sauna word on it because it's a popular word, But I think they would do that in any case, in any stuff that they can do. So,
but if you were to take 10 Norwegians off the street, and would they know the difference? Like they know sauna different from infrared therapy?
Yeah, I would think so. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as we see, the infrared has an effect. Mm-hmm. It's actually good. I was working with sports teams, like I mentioned here, and it has a good effect, but it hasn't the connection with the spiritual, and it hasn't connected with these elements of earth, water, air, and fire. So it's a totally different. It's not even how can I say it's not even a car. If we have a car, it's a different movable object.
Thank you.
So I wouldn't even put it in the same category.
Thank you, sir. Right on.
So it's more of a
beautiful job, beautiful work. So I very much appreciate your mission on a local level, elderly homes, badstu. On a global level. Continuing Mikkel's work about the alignment of different sweat therapy practices. This may be a good transition to talk about Aufguss and is it German origin, would you say? And if yes, what I think I know the answer. It's because of aromatherapy, but share, I don't mean to put thoughts in your head. Share with us about the origins of Aufguss and your adaptation of it in your native land of Norway.
Yeah. Oh, this is a wonderful topic. I just love the Aufguss. Easily, the Aufguss is a German word. You can actually call it more of a steam on. I would actually say that steam on or infusion. But I like the word steam on. We put it actually in Vegas when we opened the new Aufguss sauna, vent sauna. We said steam on
with an exclamation point.
Yes. So, but I did talk with Mr. Rolf Pieper. Rolf Pieper was the president of the German Sauna Bund. He's Mr. Sauna in Germany, and he's actually the person who has he's collected most of the studies and books you can find. And he's been president there for, 30 years or something. And we had a good talk about the Aufguss, and he said it at that time. We were saying, okay, what's the story here? There are two stories I can bring in. One story was actually about during the Olympics in Berlin with Hitler, and that time where the Scandinavians were down there winning all the medals. And what did they bring down? They brought the sauna. And then, of course, he was saying, why are they winning? Is it because of the sauna? We need to bring the saunas in. That's a nice story that we like to hear. So I always bring that up.
And what Olympics was that?
In Berlin, where you had it down here.
So then 58, maybe? I could look it up. Does it sound like in the 1950s? That Berlin Olympics?
Berlin Olympics. This is something I should actually remember. I thought it was 36 or something.
Oh, okay, pre-war. Okay, yeah, and so Scandinavians were winning all these Olympics, and the Norwegians and the Finns, they were bringing 1936. Yeah, the Summer Olympics actually. So
okay, good thing I remember that one.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so they brought sauna with them.
Yep. And they did. So that's kind of what do these northern people do? So that was one of the things that they tried to put in, that actually he chose to bring in sauna to see if it can help. But another thing, which the most interesting story which Rolf Pieper told me, was that post Second World War, around 1947, 49, the Aufguss came more to life because when they had the saunas and people were inside the saunas, people were so traumatized that it's like we also see today. They go into the sauna and sit there for 30 seconds and go out again because they're not able to connect, and they're not even present in the moment. So the sauna master went into the room and talked with the people and steamed for them to keep them in the moment and help them on their journey or on their sweat.
Beautiful.
And that's a story I actually kind of connected really much to, where he told that one. And I see it now also today with the COVID and with people around, and that people need help sometimes to just connect. And that's the second story from the Aufguss, which is started in 1947-49 in that part. So the Aufguss is actually that. It's a person or a guide, or I normally see myself more as a storyteller. It's like you have in the sweat lodges or temazcals or whatever. We are storytellers. That's who we are. And we bring people into these stories and connect them with the Löyle and connect them with themselves and their ancestors. And that's the thing that we do, if you call it Aufguss or if you call it something different. So it's just a German word for it. So the normal Aufguss is classical, what we are very calm, quiet, just listening to the steam and feeling it, and very sensitive. So, but in around 2005, it started more to move up to kind of the Alps, these things. And in 2000, around in Crom 4 was kind of the, how can I say it, in Italy, in Bruneck, it's kind of the holy palace of the Aufguss. It's where the first competition started in 2007, where they actually started to bring in kind of music in there. And do a little bit more of a waving to the music and bringing people into that part of more of a, call it a show or whatever. But still it had the same concept of it, to get people to be attentive and be present and be at the spot and connect them to the steam that they did. So it's kind of, and from 2007, it just worked more and more and more and more. And then it become where it is today, where we kind of have spectacular saunas of 300 people, where we were in Poland last year. And you bring in shows into there. You tell a story and you work with the steam. So the Aufguss has had a kind of very special journey. And I'm not going to put the culture word on the Aufguss, even if kind of maybe I hurt my friend in Germany. I would call it more of a phenomenon, which happens within the sauna, which brings people to how we can help people to connect. So it's a feeling of it's a small feeling of the magic, because it only lasts for a short time. But we know the longer we keep doing it, the stronger it gets. So it just opens the door to a world of sweat, which is just magical. And that's what Aufguss does for many people who are not used to the sweat, because either they have other stress in their life and these things which is going on. So
thank you.
So I think for me, the Aufguss is both profound, but also very easily and light. So it has both parts. I have been crying in there, because I've been experiencing journeys and stories which has made me just totally lose everything and connect and the love which I experienced. But I also kind of have experienced Aufgusses, which I kind of like, I just want to go out. But the same I have done in sauna. I have had bad sauna experiences and I have good sauna experiences in relationships. I have good relationships and I have bad relationships. So it's like anything in life. Back to quality. That's the thing, Glenn. Back to quality.
A couple of things come to mind I'd like to jump in on with regard to the practice itself. Now, I'm on a different continent here. I'm in the United States. And I can look at the continent of Europe as such distinct cultures, like very distinct cultures within relatively short geographical distances. And you tell a great story of the origin of Aufguss and the Olympics, 1936, where this Northern European practice comes down to Germany. And then my interpretation of Aufguss is that it's a German interpretation of sauna, in that the Germans love a clock. They love rules and some structure to things. And a group thing where, like, you know, we are a collective, like we are in this together. And could it be, am I reaching, or could you say that this is an amalgamation of sauna in Germany? This is the byproduct, Aufguss. Would you say that's fair, or is that an American just being a generalist?
Oh, now that's a good question. I would say kind of easy, Aufguss. The reason why they put the 15 minutes in it, they call it the 15 minutes, is because of the law about staying inside the sauna for more than 15 minutes. You cannot do that because otherwise you cannot work. So it's the German law who come in and put actually these things in, the time limit. So it has actually nothing to do with, you know, when your heat shock proteins are released, or,
right,
you know, all these things which is happening in your body. It has nothing to do with it. It has to do with the environment of work. Mm-hmm. It's a hot room where you cannot stay longer than that.
Interesting. So it's German efficiency that dictates the Aufguss. Okay.
Who brought it in?
Right on. Now, the Italians, when they got a hold of Aufguss, they wanted to create some theater to it, and perhaps some singing and some more theatrical dynamics with the towel swinging in a certain direction with some flair. Again,
from the Roman baths, you know, that was theater within the Roman baths. So of course they bring in these spectacular experiences within the bath when they have it in Italy. Absolutely, I kind of I like it in that way, that it's still about the steam. Mm-hmm. The key. This is what I really like about the Aufguss. It's about the steam. And when we come back to the infrared talk, you know, that has nothing to do with steam. But the Aufguss, the main thing in the Aufguss is actually the steam.
No question.
Which is very different than many other kind of phenomenons or cultures, where they're not talking just about the steam, but the steam is the key in the Aufguss.
Yes, and in the spirit of Mikkel and Sweat, when you start to bring in some of these other modalities, methodologies and stuff, I'm immediately drawn to the Russian banya, where the banya experience formalizes the steam and the Venic treatment that you have in the Latvian culture, where aromatherapy and the herbs come into play, which I know is something I would love to hear you speak more about, because in Aufguss you introduce aromatherapy within your practice specifically, correct?
Mm. We do. The thing is that when we connect all these different cultures, because in the Aufguss community, we have the Russians are there. So they bring in their culture in the Aufguss in these 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you get the banya, you know, they bring in their whisks, you know, nothing smells more magical than the oak from Siberia. I have never smelled anything oak. I tried to find my oak here in Norway, but you cannot even, you know, is it not, you know. So they bring in their thing. And like you said, in the Aufguss, we use essential oils. We can use that. We use fresh herbs, dry herbs, infusions. You bring in the herbs and that smell, which helps you bring people on their journey. And this is the thing that from the aromatherapy, is that the smell is the only sense you have, which is directly connected to your limbic system, and which actually has this effect that when you smell something, you cannot choose how to react. Meaning, the moment you smell it, you're at your grandmother's house. You're there. So the emotions which you can connect to the smells within the sauna helps you on your journey. And that's the storyteller's job, is to try to get these smells to help you get in that certain type of feeling. And that's the key that we use in the Aufguss, that we try to bring people in. Of course, some smells can be smells are individual. So of course, Christmas is not always easy because some people have quite heavy and some like it. So you need to be careful of how you bring in. But then I also want to talk a little bit about one of my mentors. His name is Tim Yago. He's a Celtic shaman. The Celtic sweat lodge is about 4,000 years old. And he tells the story about Talassin, the Merlin, when he has his sweat lodges. He said, it has nothing to do with the story or has to do with your song or the quality of what you sing within the sauna room. It has everything to do with your intention and when you go in. So for the sauna master, when we work with steam in the Aufguss or we work with smells, it's the intention I bring into what I want to give to you. So that's the key in every types of sweat or everything we do in life. So it's actually put your deepest intentions into it every time you go into the sweat bath. And that's what I see from the Aufguss masters, that they have this respect for the room, for the sweat room. They're not there to entertain fully. They're there with an intention to heal and give people a nice experience and give them that joy through their tools. And that's the thing that we try to bring in different cultures, because everyone learning from different cultures. Like the Latvians are there, in the sauna and doing an Aufguss. I'm actually going to have a Latvian week here now. There in 1.5 weeks, bringing some Pirts masters coming in here.
Fabulous. That's great.
Yeah,
Tell us about that. So they're coming in from Latvia to your facilities, or where will you be partaking in this experience?
Yeah, it's like I connect cultures. I bring in the embassy. I have done this before. The Russians are coming in because this is old Kekkonen style. The president of Finland, Kekkonen, had this sauna diplomacy, where actually all these things about nations, and we have some struggles around going on with the Russians and the NATO and the rest of the world. And I try actually to bring people together and just have peace. And the sauna has that effect. So the Latvians will come in, then I bring in some embassy and we talk about the cultural exchange, because Latvians were also Vikings. Their story is all Viking culture. So we bring in the same stories. So in Norway, we have the story, our northern mythology from the pagan time is that like Odin is connected to oak because it's strong and firm, but still it's the same in the Latvians. The oak is connected to that masculine and powerful part, while the birch is connected to Freya in our northern mythology. And the same is with the Latvians. So we are kind of trying to connect our cultures and come together because we are so similar through the sweat. And that's what they see, that kind of all our sweat cultures are actually connected. And that's great. What we try to share.
Thank you. Oh man, that's so great. So great what you're doing, Lasse, on the cultural, on a global side of things, this connectivity. It's interesting just to, share some thoughts on that. Again, I'm somewhat isolated here in the middle of the North America continent. I could get in my car and drive 100 miles in any direction, and it's like, there's not much cultural diversity going on. Put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Minneapolis, very cultural city, very integrated. We have people from all over and stuff. But where you are over there, it must be kind of fun. I mean, you have these different European traditions. And when I was last in Finland, and I really started getting interested in the Japanese, the connection between Finland and Japan culturally, not just with sweat or sauna, you could say, but there's some base language commonalities. There's some, behavioral similarities. They're, really kind, humble people, quiet. They get along. A lot of Japanese go to Lapland and stuff and get, hip to sauna. And you mentioned how popular sauna is in your country, in Norway, but also in Japan. I mean, it's
oh yeah,
sauna's on fire there, isn't it?
It's totally crazy. Actually, this is the beautiful thing about the culture. I have been dreaming of Asia into this sauna world and the sweat culture or the bathing culture in general in Asia is tremendous, and the history is long and strong. And last year, we had the first time a Japanese delegation coming to the Aufguss WM. So they were doing the first Aufguss in this Polish sauna. And this year, in July, 5th to the 9th of July, we will have the first Japanese qualifier to the World Championship in Aufguss. It will be in Yokohama. So I'm working now with the Japanese Sauna and Spa Association. And these are so passionate about sauna, but also the thing, what I like is that Japan has this future thought that we went into here. Where do they want to go with this sauna? They want to keep the cultural, the heritage and that part, but they still are that beautifully crazy, who just go in another direction. And what we see also is that when we're going to do this, the Japanese now are going waving towels and working in the sauna. And the key is in Japan, what they see with the Aufguss is that the youth, the young people are coming strong now because they see another direction with it. Not meaning that direction will go, but it's like we said, it opens the door to to the dimension. So when they just go in through the Aufguss, they will find the sauna. So Japan is amazing. So I've never been in Japan, so I'm going now this July, and so we will have Asia for the first time sharing their type of sweat, and this is the interesting part. When we had the meeting with the Japanese delegation here on Zoom some weeks ago, we tried to tell them the rules about the Aufguss. But we also tried to say, we would just give you a small hints of the rules because we want to see what comes out of Asia. Which culture do you bring into Europe? We are not here to teach you how to do this. We want to see what you bring in. So when we're going to see Japan coming into Europe with their sweat culture, how do they experience the phenomenon of Aufguss? And they will bring in that culture in. So Japan is amazing. And of course, we are working hard. We will get China too. Mm-hmm. They are coming. And they're so open. They have questions and they really want to kind of go further with the sauna, from which we did with the ice. They have all these villages, and you probably been there. So
I have not been to Japan, but I on my website Sauna Times we have many people from Japan because you're right, they're very curious about sauna and they're very open to learning about it. And I also have to credit the Japanese in general in that there is a movement of I hate to use the word authenticity, but let's say quality. Like I think they really understand good heat and what that quality heat means, and not like the and not the cheapened version of it. Put it that way. So that's one of the commonalities I'm finding from the Far East in Japan specifically is they're into quality.
Absolutely, and that is what I believe Japan will bring into the Aufguss, a different type of quality, a different type of thing that we bring in. And then maybe we see in 10, 15, 20 years, we will see a totally different way of the phenomenon of Aufguss, which how can I say, all these cultures we have, from the Temas, the South American to the hammams and all these styles around, we have, these are often connected to countries or cultures.
Yep,
they're
regions.
Regions, yeah. But the Aufguss has been that thing which is kind of free. It's still a German word, but it's kind of let loose. So what we hope to see is kind of where does it go when all these different regions and cultures bring in their own style into this thing where you can kind of
How often do you sauna, Lasse?
Oh, I sauna almost every day because I work in a sauna. I do it here. I will say maybe 4 or 5 times a week. Yeah.
And are you practicing Aufguss? Are you performing? Are you administering Aufguss most days of the week?
I'm that old guy. I have my young people doing the Aufguss. I do the badstu. I tell the stories. I bring them on these 2-hour journeys and tell the story about the badstu, where it comes from and how we work with the elements and bringing people on drum journeys and full moon rituals and these things. Because for me, it's about it's about the story. I'm getting, how can I say it? I'm getting, Risto has this power or this thing that he picks out people who actually can start to work with the heritage and go back in time. And that's maybe my work also for the Norwegian Badstu, is to go a little bit back in time and find our kind of work with our roots and work with our culture. And then the young ones will bring the Aufguss further into the future. But for me, it's more of I like the quiet, the calm, the working with the whisks and telling the story. That's what I know. But I love a good Aufguss. I do that too. Sometimes I bring on some good music and some AC/DC, and I can do full party at Friday at 7:00. Of course I do that. I don't want to listen to classical music all the time. Sometimes I want rock, sometimes I want pop. And that's the thing I have with the sauna too.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever sauna in a more Finnish way where it's just you, maybe a couple of buddies, or you alone, no structure, no towel, no Aufguss, no storytelling? Do you, given that you're sauning 4 or 5 times a week, or is it more of like, okay, I'm going to sauna, so I'm going to be working, and doing this guided practice? How does that work for you in your weeks when you sauna?
It's the thing about when you're that fond of sauna is that when you're finished work, you go to the sauna.
I can relate, man. So you'll spend a couple hours actually doing an Aufguss ceremony, and then you'll go sauna.
Yeah, of course, because then I'm adapted. I'm prepped for it. So it's the thing of the essence of the sauna. I love this talk I had with Eda Verroja in Estonia. She's a beautiful. You have to have her on your talk, Glenn. She was the one who got the UNESCO World Heritage List on Estonian smoke saunas. Mm-hmm. And she also mentioned the thing about the essence of it is about time, to release time and be in the moment and don't even think about it. So that's the key thing that I kind of find, that the longer I'm in it, the better it gets. It's like everything in life, mostly when you make food or whatever, is that when you actually release that time. So if I have been working sometime in the sauna, that's even better when I'm finished.
Oh, totally. I know. Yeah. Well, when I do Sauna Talk, most of the time it's on the sauna bench. You and I can't do that for this visit, but we will sauna together one day. I know it. And, and we will visit, and maybe there will be a formal Aufguss ceremony to our time on the bench together, which would be absolutely great. But when I interview guests on the bench, I feel like I'm on duty, or I'm performing or whatever. And then when the interview's over, then I feel really great, because then I can just focus on a couple sauna rounds as their own thing. And be, as you say, be in that moment, be in the moment of nature, and connecting with, my feeling, where my body is at any moment of heat and cool. And you just literally lose yourself in that moment.
How can I say, the strangest thing, it makes me happy. And that's what do I want in life? I want to be happy, a good dad and a good husband. And when I come home, my wife hasn't, I'm not that often drying my hair when I come home, but then at least I come home as a good husband.
Oh, so well said. I don't mean to interrupt you, but thank you. A good friend of mine says that as well. His wife is not, my wife does not sauna much. And yet when I come in after a couple hours of that experience, I am just like you. I'm just very pleasant, calm, relaxed, usually very clear-headed, able to be a good husband, like you're saying, and father. I very much relate to that. It's beautiful. Well, I want to thank you. Is there anything you want me to ask you? I mean, we touched upon the Badstulaug. I mean, congratulations on that beautiful work. I love the simplicity and the grandness of your mission. elderly homes on a local level, and this appreciation for the different cultural nuances of sweat therapy on a global sense. Those are very admirable missions for you, or goals for you. Is there anything else you want me to ask you, or you want to touch upon? Because I got a couple of quick rapid fire questions. Should I just lay into them, or what else is on your mind, Lasse?
What else is on my mind? I'm a little bit, how can I say it? I'm hanging a little bit on the Professor Hägglund, Hans Hägglund in Sweden, in the Uppsala University there. He had a speech here where he was talking about the OECD report, which is kind of this Organization for Economical Cooperations and Developments, which actually sees that in the European Union and also in Norway, that 97% of health budgets goes to treatable health. Only 3% goes to preventable health. And 1.5% of that goes to kind of measuring. So only 1.5% of a health budget goes to preventable health. So what I want to kind of try to give out to the world is that we have to work to get more into preventable health with the sauna. So Hans Hägglund is pushing that in Sweden. I'm trying to push that in Norway, and we want more people to push that all over the globe, that actually preventable health is the only key to make people healthy. We cannot put them full of medicine and other stuff when they're sick. It's before they get sick, which is the key. So if we can get 0.5% of that to 3.5% with sauna, the planet will be much, much more happy and healthy.
Right on, brother. That is so resonating with me. We know that sauna, you and I practice sauna regularly. You 4 or 5 times a week, me 3-4 times a week. I feel, we talked about this, you feel great physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I had Wim Hof on the podcast, and he said, yeah, I can go climb Mount Kilimanjaro in just my shorts and no shirt and be a freak. But, it's all about clinical studies. And, he's proving to the world that he's not a freak, and that the practice of cold therapy, deep breathing and all that is actually really profoundly good for you. And he says it is all about clinical studies. And so I applaud that. I think this is on the cusp. I think this groundswell of appreciation for this practice we call sauna or badstu is coming with it, is this opportunity to have clinical research support funding for this preventable health that you're speaking about. That's my personal feeling. And, Wim kind of taught me that. Like, it's one thing that we know this practice is good for us, but it's a whole other thing to explain to others why, and having clinical proof. In America here, we're fed with such bullshit all the time. Where are the studies, man? Where are the studies? So anyway, I support that in such a huge way. And I this is one thing I do love about Sauna Talk. With Jari and I, we were able to form a relationship, a global relationship, and I'm just so excited about what you just said. As we have this groundswell within this community where we can really start to formalize this vision that you've laid out. Lasse,
and this is kind of the thing that we try to work with, because we need to bring in the wellness community, and that's kind of where I come in. I try to connect this one, because with the funding of Jari studies and other studies coming around the globe for sauna, we need the funding for it. And because, when you have a medical, corporation on the other side, they are getting there in 97%, and then they're happy. Maybe they want 100%.
Yeah, right.
But
and they're
still,
paying
when we see that
for lobbyists and stuff like that.
Oh,
too,
yeah.
Right. Yeah, we need a sauna lobbyist here in America.
Yeah. that's the thing. We need not just America, all over the world.
Yeah. Hey, when you talk about essences, I want to jump back to that real quick. Does Kilohanka mean anything to you? The Finnish Kilohanka? It's
Kilohanka. No.
It's those old trees up way in the north.
Oh yeah. Kelo.
Kelo. Yeah. I have some Kilohanka here. It's an essence that I brought home. I brought this home from Finland on my trip, and you know what? I have to tell you something. I don't like candles. Like when my wife lights a candle for dinner and stuff, if it's got that like smell in there, it's like she goes off into the kitchen, and I'll just like put it out and hope she doesn't notice. But this Kilohanka stuff, it is just so beautiful. And they use it quite prominently in Finland for lolu water to make lolu, and then they will use the Kilohanka for benches. And I'm just curious if you have an equivalent of that in Norway, and if you know what I'm talking about.
Essential oils. This is a full podcast talking about this thing. When I talk about quality and how they're produced and things like that, but the easy thing when I talk about quality is that when you smell something and you immediately start on a journey with a picture in your mind where there's no filter around it, then it's this first sense that it's good quality. When you smell it and try to figure out something, when you smell it and you just, I don't know what it smells, or when you have to work to get it, then the quality is not there. In that sense. So very easy. It's like wine. When you taste a really good wine, you just boom, you just fly. And that's the same with essential oils. Of course, so you can go through all these other stuff. We also do, but it's a good thing to do. So for me, essential oils is very much connected to also the story around it. And I have one producer, which is called Bergila. It's in the northern Italy. It's Franz who's there. This is a family who has been doing this for over 100 years. He's stomping in this huge... Actually, there's an episode coming with about the Aufguss from Bergila with Mikkel in the Sweat, which is coming. Mm-hmm. And it's such an amazing quality because they have 7-8 products which are doing really, really well. And they have the mountain pine from that area, which is really amazing. But also what I like is that they have lemon from Sicily.
Oh, beautiful.
If you ever smell the lemon from Sicily, the moment you smell this one, you are boom. It's just the most amazing thing.
Man, that's great. That is
so check that. Cool. Bergila is the name of that one.
Okay, I'll for sure check that out. How do you spell that? By the way, Bergila,
and I've been working with essential oils for almost all my life, and the quality of that product is beyond. I can challenge that to any other essential oil, but they have very few different types because quality doesn't come in masses.
Absolutely, well said. Yeah. I got a few questions. I appreciate your time today, Lasse. It's great. It's evening for you. Your young ones are in bed now. How old are your kids?
9 and 15.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So my son is a sauna crazy guy.
Which
he
one?
Loves
the 9-year-old or the 15?
The 15-year-old. The 9-year-old is still a little bit, she's kind of like, hey, 1 hour of doing all this or 2 hours. She's kind of like, oh, cool. But my son, he loves it.
That's great.
So it's nice.
Lovely. Hey, if you could have a mobile sauna and bring it anywhere in the world, what's the first place that comes to mind, Lasse? Anywhere in the world?
Oh, I have experienced something. It can be somewhere I never experienced before, but I actually want to have the picture in my mind where I want to go, but have been. I want to go again, and this is Lofoten. In the north of Norway. It's the most tremendous mountain and the ocean. And for me, since I'm here in Norway, the ocean is so clean. So for me, a good sauna session is also a good cold ocean bath. Oh. So for me, that's when I have the clearest, coldest, most spectacular ocean connected to it. That's the thing. And sauna is very often an introvert. So I don't need a sauna to look at the outside. I don't need a window in there. I enjoy it for myself. And when I come out, I can enjoy the spectacular view. So
beautiful.
For me, it will be Lofoten
Lofoten. Yeah. And what fish are in that water? What species of fish would be there?
Huge cod. And you also, some in the area, you got the whales and others. Mm-hmm. So you can find that you have whale safaris and these things up in Lofoten area. Mm-hmm. But
do you like to eat cod?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So maybe after the sauna session, would you have baked cod, or how would you prepare cod for a meal after a sauna?
We wrap them in foil and we put them on the barbecue or kind of on the fire. And then we just eat straight from.
Totally.
Yeah.
Would you put some herbs or lemon with that?
Yeah, you can do. But very often we just take it just that. But to mix some herbs in it and do some, that's when you have the chef in there. But normally we just throw it on and just eat it.
Totally.
Because it's just that fresh. So you just want.
That sounds dynamite. Now, if you could sauna with anybody in the world, dead or alive, past or present, this is a very kind of abstract question, but who is the first person that comes to mind that you would like to sit on the sauna bench with at this place?
Oh my God, what a question. I have been struggling with this one. So this is, what can I say for this one? Of course, I'm that pragmatic. I actually, this is not that deluxe or beautifully said, but I would actually go into the sauna with the Prime Minister of Norway because I need to get this person to wake up and to talk with that person. Because what I can do, that is thing. Maybe I could influence and get that person to help instead of trying to get knowledge of something else, which I cannot do much about. I can actually try to do something about things and get sauna to the community.
That's beautiful. So with the Prime Minister of Norway and the special sauna session, just relaxing on the sauna bench, maybe without your sales hat on in a direct way, you could casually guide the Prime Minister toward this mission of preventable health and the elderly home projects. Is that the initiative for this person to be on the bench with the Prime Minister? Is that your thinking?
Yes, that's kind of where I have my time on this planet. And what I want to do is achieve that. If I can get help of doing it, it will be good. But I will do my best, my very, very best to get things like that happen. So my wish, I can take away Jesus, Prophet Muhammad and Buddha and, Elvis and everyone. I would just give me the Prime Minister of Norway. Because then I actually can make a difference.
Right. So not a selfish guest, a guest with intention for a purpose. No Eddie Van Halen then.
I would love to have Prince though, because because he's one of my. But if I can choose only one, I need first to make a difference and try to actually do something before.
Right on. Well, when we're on the bench, we'll share a Prince story or two. As you know, he's from here, from where I live. Yeah. So Lasse, what do you think is most misunderstood about sauna? And this is a difficult question in a way because you're in Norway there, and I would say many Norwegians, and you referenced this very early in our chat, they're well familiar with sauna, with good sauna, with what good heat is, and you said something really interesting about the architecture and how the architecture of sauna is being pushed in very dramatic and beautiful ways and stuff. But I guess this question is better answered by my guests in North America because sauna over here is misunderstood quite a bit. I mean, you guys are close to the motherland there, I guess, of Finland, and certainly close to Latvia and the Russian style and the German thing we talked about. But is there anything that you would like to share with others that you think is misunderstood about sauna that you'd like them to know?
Actually, there is, because I was just now recently, half a year ago, the first real book about Norwegian badstu and badstu folk, badstu people, were released by two Norwegian guys from Valdres up in the mountains, two young guys who were enthusiastic and wonderful. And actually, Hallgrim, one of the guys who wrote the book, he made me kind of like, you're so right. Because one of the things he mentioned that he kind of found about the Norwegian badstu is that people actually forget to wash themselves in the sauna. They go in and sit there and do their thing and go out. But in our history, we brought in our water. We were cleansing ourselves and washing ourselves inside. It's a wet washing room. Badstua was used for that. So if I kind of come with anything that I kind of would recommend people to do, because the feeling, I forgot it myself, the feeling when you kind of open the doors and the window, take the heat a little bit down and then wash yourself inside the room, it's such a profound, beautiful experience, especially with family, with my kids and wife, and when we do it together and these. So make it a room for you also to wash yourself, because today people are building these architectural, beautiful saunas, and you're not allowed to make them wet. You cannot do all these things inside, but forget about that. It's about, it's a laugardag, it's a washing day. It's that time. So I would actually put a good one for that one. Bring in the water and do that cleansing and wash yourself inside and feel it and work with the herbs and the whisks and really cleanse yourself.
Beautiful.
Inside. Because
so well said. I'd like to jump on that. I'd like to expand what you're saying. I wrote a post on Sauna Times once that said, are you benefiting from the clean rinse after every sauna round? And one of the things that I don't respond well to is this idea that you're in the sauna and you're sweating and you're getting hot and you make lolu and everything is wonderful. And then I see people leave the hot room and they go sit on a bench and they're all sweaty. They're all sweaty. And I'm like, oh, so now you have your pores all open. And this is a wonderful opportunity to cleanse, to just like a clean, you don't need soap. You just jump in the sea or pour water over your head. And now you're in this euphoric state of not just mind, but also your body, your skin, the largest organ you have, the biggest organ in your body, these many, many skin pores completely flushed with something so simple as water. And then your core is warm, your skin is clean, and you just sit there. And to me, that's a style of bathing that I respond so well to. And I think to jump on what you're saying, I think that's misunderstood. Sitting in cold sweat to me is like kind of creepy. I don't respond to that. I'm big on the clean rinse after every round.
It is a cleansing process. It is a washing thing when you go back in history, and that's the thing where we go now a little bit. And I when I have done it, I kind of feel so nice when I kind of wash and I will use the whisks and the saponin from the whisks I have, and use that water when I have it in the water for several hours, and I use this water and the smell and it really makes me travel and beautifully just be at one. So
one with nature too. With do you have the drug? You probably don't have the drugstore Walgreens over there. Walgreens.
Yeah.
You have Walgreens. Yeah. So I say that I don't use, with my sauna, I don't use any product available at Walgreens. It's just nature, right? Like the water, right? The fresh water, the fresh herb. I mean, and you never feel any more clean than using no products available at Walgreens.
Oh. It's like we do here now. In the wintertime, we go out and pick our conifera, those pine trees and all these things. But when it comes in May, and especially in June, we go out and pick our own herbs and our own whisks and bring them into the people. And get them to connect a little bit more with nature. And that's what we also see a lot here in Norway now, is that the kind of this belief back to the northern mythology of nature and paganism is kind of opening a little bit more up, because people want to be more connected. And that's nature inside.
Lovely.
Just work with it. And
wow. I just looked at the clock, Lasse. Man, you and I could go on and on. I am so grateful for your time. This is Sauna Talk, brother. I'm going to ask you one more. This is Sauna Talk. I feel like you and I have known each other for decades, man. I'm just so grateful for you to be a guest on my podcast, Sauna Talk. I've enjoyed every question and every answer thoroughly. So I want to ask you one more, if you got it. Okay, man. So it's a sauna day, like many day for you. And you wake up and you know it's a sauna day. And when you think about going through your day and then going to sauna, the preparing of sauna, and in your case, maybe preparing for Aufguss, meeting guests, and through that process, saying goodbye to guests. And then you did reveal to me that you enjoy sauna after an Aufguss session on your own. Mm-hmm. So you'll do that maybe for a couple of cycles, couple of rounds, kind of a thing, all the way to coming home and, being with your wife at the end of the night and going to bed. So I'm laying out the full spectrum of a sauna day for you in your own way. If you had to distill it to one moment, what is your favorite moment of sauna, and what has first come to mind as a favorite moment for sauna for you?
Ooh, the first thing that actually came to my mind was the moment I put the first Löyle on. And I just feel it slowly moving down from the roof and into every time I kind of stretch my fingers, I lay down and I kind of feel it following down my skin, following down the fingers, the arms, into my face, my nose, through my body, and cleansing it and connecting me. That's kind of the moment I very often kind of brings me back to the, this is the sauna moment for me. Many moments before and after, but kind of that's the one who makes me, be me, if I could say like that. That's the moment I connect with myself and see that, okay, I'm, I'm here. And so, when you say it, like when you ask the question, that's what pops up in my mind.
I couldn't think of a better answer, man. That is beautiful. Beautifully said. Lasse, I want to thank you, man. That is a great finish. I love that that we saved that question for last. I am going to fire up my backyard sauna right now. And I will think of you when I make my first steam, because it is a magical experience. It's universal, right? Like, it's wherever you are in the world, when you make steam and it hits you that first time, it takes you to the essence of sauna. Yeah, man. That
makes you want to have more.
Amen.
And more and more. So no, it's been an honor, Glenn, and like I said to all the listeners, go back and listen to the other podcasts and the episodes, because there's such a tremendous amount of amazing talks, which people can listen to and have their journey within the sauna. Because I kind of feel like I'm in the sauna when I listen to your podcast. So keep going, my friend.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to the next one and the next one and the next one.
And I look forward to sitting on the bench with you one day, brother. A kindred spirit. Thank you, Lasse, for your time.
Thank you, Glenn.